First tonight, they oversee our police forces, but now 3 of our police and crime commissioners are asking the public whether they should also take charge of our fire services. The PCCs of Hertfordshire, Northamptonshire and Cambridgeshire argue that with police and fire working more closely on the ground, having the same person in charge would make sense. But some of those who run our fire services now say it would be a waste of money. Here's our political reporter, Mosimi Bakshi.
Working better together, that's the theory anyway. But plans to centralise who governs some of our region's fire services have already run into trouble. The elected crime commissioners of Hertfordshire, Northamptonshire and Cambridgeshire are currently responsible for running their local police forces. They now want to govern the fire service in order, they claim, to improve accountability. The push for greater collaboration has come from central government. According to the Home Office, more than half of all police forces in England are within a kilometre of a fire station, like here in Hertford. Sharing, they say, makes sense, but only where the business case has been proved. And that case has been made in Essex, where last week Roger Hurst became the country's first fire and police commissioner.
We should be able to make better investment decisions, if we grow together onto the same sort of IT platforms, making better efficiencies in the enabling services, but also doing stuff together at the front end in terms of response work, better coordinated response and better prevention work, working with the public.
But in Hertfordshire, where the County Council runs the fire service alongside adult social care and trading standards, claims the PCC will struggle for support.
In our offices, the fire and rescue service is open to scrutiny by all parties, so we can call them in. We can scrutinise their operation, we can scrutinise their costs and their expenses and their efforts and the delivery of the service. Whereas one elected representative and a police and crime commissioner may well struggle to have all party support for his position.
Hertfordshire isn't alone in objecting to the new proposals. In Cambridgeshire, the fire service is currently governed by a fire authority made up of councillors. They say they're already making savings through closer working.
Anything in the business case doesn't really take us forward in any respect at all. In fact, where we're standing now in this control room is an excellent example of collaboration. This is the control room for Cambridgeshire and Suffolk. We've been moving forward at a pace for many years.
Whatever happens, the public is unlikely to see any changes. Firefighters and not police officers will still tackle blazes. But whether there's any appetite for change remains to be seen. Mosimi Bakshi, BBC Look East, Hertford.
Well, Jason Ablewhite, the PCC for Cambridgeshire, believes that by leading both services, he will be best placed to improve public safety. But we're joined now by David Lloyd, who is the Police and Crime Commissioner for Hertfordshire. Mr. Lloyd, there is a tussle over this issue, largely amongst the politicians, but all the public really wants is a fire service that works. Why should we care who runs it?
Well, you should care who runs it because you should be able to decide what happens locally, and I want to make sure that in Hertfordshire the public run it rather than it being a sort of clique of people in the county council. And by that I mean I want to ensure that we can go to an election, we can decide what's best for fire and we can run it that way.
Although with respect, you are elected by the public, so are those councillors, so what's the difference?
Well, the difference is, there was an election in May this year for the County Council. Fire wasn't mentioned once. When in 2016 there was an election for the Police and Crime Commissioner, the only thing we talked about was policing and crime. So I think that it is very important that people have a chance to say what they think about fire, and the only way to do that is to have someone who's directly accountable for it. And there isn't anyone directly accountable for fire in that way in the County Council.
One of the suggestions is that the police and crime commissioners could take up positions on the fire authorities or on the council committees currently responsible. What is wrong with that as a model?
Well, the fire committee in the county council is actually the cabinet. The cabinet met actually to talk about fire governance a couple of weeks ago. I think it met for 90 seconds. I don't think that I'd be able to win much over in 90 seconds worth of consultation.
So clearly you don't think that the issue of the fire service is being taken seriously enough. The councils and the fire authorities, though, by and large, seem to be fighting these PCC takeovers. Are you surprised by that?
Well, I'm not surprised because, of course, they do have a lot of pressure on their budgets. And their budgets go for things other than fire. They go for social care, they go for highways. And, of course, in all those budgets, they've got to try and make some savings. And so what they're doing is they're taking money from fire and putting it into those places. And if they lose the fire budget, they won't have as many places to take money from. If you come across to me as Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, the money has to be spent on fire, and any savings that you get within the fire budget will go back into fire and be spent on fire.
Mr. Lloyd, I'm afraid we must leave it there, but many thanks for your time on Look East this evening. Good evening. First tonight, they already oversee our police forces, but now 3 of our police and crime commissioners are asking the public whether they should also take charge of our fire services. Critics claim the move is unnecessary and would be a waste of money, but the PCCs of Hertfordshire, Northamptonshire and Cambridgeshire say the reverse is true, that having them in charge would save funds and improve safety. Well, Mike Cartwright is at Cambridgeshire's fire headquarters tonight. So, Mike, could they save money?
Well, they possibly could. Look, there is the police headquarters just down there in the gloom. That sign is the fire HQ. 2 buildings, 2 sets of management. Now, the government say that more than half of our police stations are within a mile of a fire station. They want the services to work closer together. But does that really make sense?
Major flooding, missing person investigations and major crashes. Our police and fire services are already working closely together. In Northampton, joint police and fire response vehicles have been on the roads for a number of years. Also here, a joint mobile command centre. So why not have one person controlling both forces? Northants, Cams and Herts crime commissioners all say it makes sense.
If the PCC is in charge, it means the public are in charge. I'm someone who will be able to go out to the public and ask what they want to happen in the fire service. And then, having done that, implement what they want to do. And of course, the PCC must spend fire money on fire.
Along with highways, social care and more, fire service funds here come from county council coffers. Under their control, it works well, they say.
In our offices, the fire and rescue service is open to scrutiny by all parties, so we can call them in. We can scrutinise their operation, we can scrutinise their costs and their expenses and their efforts and the delivery of the service.
But Essex already has the country's first fire and police commissioner, Roger Hurst, appointed last week.
The reason it's a good idea is, firstly, police and crime commissioners have obviously worked well. We have been more flexible, more responsive to the public, directly elected, able to make decisions in shorter time frames. I think the changes that have needed to be made would have been very hard under a police authority.
At Cambridgeshire Fire Control, they handle calls for Suffolk as well. They're already financially efficient here, they say. And for them, the crime commissioner's proposals don't stack up.
It doesn't meet its objectives. The main tests are efficiency, economy, effectiveness and public safety. And all of those things we're doing anyway in a very effective manner.
Making it more accountable or change for change's sake. The battle over the future of our fire service has started.
The PCC here says both services under his control would improve public safety, but it's really the government pushing for this, offering a big pot of money for the PCCs to go out and gauge public opinion. Now, in this part of the country, more commissioners are doing that than anywhere else. Now, there is opposition, but there's also support. In Hertfordshire alone, 11 MPs say this is a better way of working. But really, it's our opinion, the public's opinion, that the government really want to gauge. Back to you.
Mike, thank you very much.